So everyone, fantastic news out of New York City at 11 a.m. this morning. The vote for the Amazon Union Drive count was finalized, and the yeas have it. It was 2,654 votes to form a union versus 2,131 against, which means that JFK 8 Staten Island Amazon warehouse is the first American Amazon warehouse to unionize, thanks to just a truly Herculean effort by Chris Malls and the Amazon Labor Union team that just made this happen against all odds. Really one of the best news days we've had in a while. Here they are coming out of the National Labor Relations Board building in New York City with the news.
Let's go! Do this stuff, let's go, baby!
You got the champagne and everything.
This is the best feeling in the world. Come up to the mic. Words can't describe it.
Have champagne. Do you have champagne?
Words.
No, do the mic stand. Can you turn this way? Do whatever you want, actually.
Yo, Chris, can I pop it?
You got a message
I
for
feel like
Jeff
you should be the one to do it.
Yeah.
I'll pop it for y'all.
Yeah.
Shake this shit up.
Watch out, Kevin.
To the first union in American history.
Yeah.
All right, Chris, you go, man.
Chris, you have a message for Jeff.
There you go. Chris later in a press conference said his message for Jeff Bezos was thanks for going up to outer space, because while you were up there, we were down here organizing a union.
Is that what he said?
Yeah, that's what he said. And we'll get into his press conference and a lot more regarding this story on Sunday night. For those watching this on YouTube, the link to our Facebook page is in the description. Follow us on Facebook. We do a weekly live stream show every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern on our Facebook page. And so, like I said, make sure to check us out there. We'll be talking a lot more about this in the coming days. But, you know, the thing I thought of when I was, watching that video that we just saw there, just the jubilation, the celebration, the joy, is when I first saw Chris Smalls. I mean, we had the pleasure and the honor of interviewing Chris last January, a little over a year ago. But the first time we saw Chris and heard of Chris was when the pandemic was raging. It was about May or June of 2020. I think the first interview I saw him on was either the Crystal and Sagar show or the late, great Michael Brooks interviewed him in, late spring, early summer of 2020, when there was such despair in the air, not just for, for everybody in this country there was, because of the pandemic, and especially in New York, we were all locked in our homes. We couldn't go outside. We were afraid to breathe the air outside of our houses. And especially
a fucking deer ran past me in the middle of Harlem at 2 a.m.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
That's how I am. No, I'm not even making a joke.
No,
that's
I know you're not.
That's how I Am Legend shit got up here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you had like a truly apocalyptic atmosphere here for progressives, people on the left. Obviously, the Bernie campaign had just folded. So we had a pandemic. We're afraid to go outside. We're alone. We're isolated. We can't work. We can't socialize. We can't do anything. We have a hopeless presidential race coming up. And then here's Chris, who knew he was going to do something based on what happened to him. For those who don't know the backstory, he was fired by Amazon for organizing workplace protests because they were not protecting their workers in the early stages of COVID. And he got fired and smeared by Amazon as, unintelligent and inarticulate, by former Obama spokesperson Jay Carney, filthy little slut that he is. And he knew he was going to do something about it. He didn't quite know exactly what he was going to do. He was forming an organization called the Congress of Essential Workers. And he knew he was going to be an organizer of some kind. And then you had the Bessemer, Alabama union drive happen. That union drive failed, but Chris got involved in that and learned from what he saw when he went to Alabama to help with their union effort. He saw some things that could be improved upon if he tried it up here, and he did. And, they cracked down on him even more when he got up here and started organizing just a few weeks ago. They had him arrested for handing out food. He spent 6 hours in booking, went right back and gave food to the night shift workers. And so it's just an amazing story to go from 2 years ago, where we were when we first were introduced to Chris Smalls, to where we are now. And to see that happen just 2 years later is just a fantastic story.
This whole story is it's something so rare. It's the good guys won, and we so rarely see that in America anymore. This is some Jimmy Stewart, Mr. Smith goes to Washington shit. You had this decent man who fought the system and won. That is so woven into the American myth, and it so rarely happens in reality. And I don't want to be naive about the past. We always had our problems, but it seems like we live in an age of such rampant corruption that you almost never see this kind of an outcome. And I think particularly in this age, it's really appropriate that the person leading this movement is a working class African-American man driving American labor, because who's working in these Amazon factories, really? I mean, it's a lot of people of color in these factories who have these jobs. I think in New York, it's something like 60%.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So I think that's great. I think he's something we don't see a lot anymore. He's a hero. Chris Smalls is a hero to have taken that misfortune and to have taken that insult directly from one of the world's richest men. Jeff Bezos is directly insulting you, calling you unintelligent, and calling you uncultured, or whatever adjectives they use, which are clearly of racist intent. And to take that and turn it into beating what is arguably the world's most powerful corporation at this point, that's worthy of a modern day Frank Capra movie.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you really can't.
Now I want to see if Hollywood wants to make this movie now, because I bet they won't.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's another angle we could talk about more, in the future. I mean, you haven't seen many Hollywood types tweet out their jubilation at this news.
No,
it's been pretty much silence.
No, where's
from
that?
them.
Where is that? You have both angles here. You have a triumph of the working class, and you have it's being led by an African American man in the age of George Floyd and Black Lives Matter. Where's Hollywood? Where are they? They should be over the moon right now.
Yeah. No, absolutely. You would think, but Amazon funds a lot of their movies. Amazon's Amazon's in Hollywood now too.
I was just going to say that. That's what Ricky Gervais was calling them out on. You'll work for Apple. You'll work for anybody. Like, who are you kidding with all the virtue signaling?
Yeah, I mean,
I bet you that is part of it. Like, they don't want to cross Amazon. What if that cost them a project?
Oh yeah, no, I think that certainly might have something to do with it. It's a testament to what can happen, what hope there can be, if people just go take the fight directly to their employers. I mean, that's what it was obvious really after the 2020 primaries wrapped up, that there was not going to be a solution to any of our problems going through the electoral system. It's just a non-starter. By design right now, that system, politics with a capital P, is just not capable of solving the main problems of the day that have to be solved. If there's going to be any sort of hope, it's going to come in the way that, Karl Marx, quite frankly, said it was going to come, which is workers organizing at their workplace, leveraging their labor against the capital that was exploiting their labor. And that's what Chris did. That's what these voters did. That's what these guys who voted to join the union did. You didn't need a middleman. You didn't need an AOC. You didn't need a Bernie Sanders. You didn't need whatever we think of any of these people. Like, they're just extraneous right now. I mean, they're set dressing. They're not players. They're extras. They're background actors. Right. The actual players in the scene are the laborers and their bosses. And if enough laborers take the fight to their bosses, then there can be some hope, as the Starbucks workers proved. And as now these Amazon workers have proved, and they're going right into their next fight. One of the things Chris Small said at his press conference was there's a neighboring warehouse, LBJ5. They're going to start organizing a union vote there on Monday. And so we'll see. Hopefully this has the same kind of ripple effect that we saw take place over at Starbucks.
Right. Now that the workers have seen that Amazon can be beaten, their working conditions, by all accounts, are so fucking horrific. I think this is going to spread very quickly. I think it's going to spread like wildfire. And I will be very interested to see how what is arguably the world's most evil corporation, in terms of how it treats its workers, is going to try to crush this movement, because I wouldn't put anything past them. They're kind of between a rock and a hard place in that they can't shut down the warehouses. That's their whole shtick, right? We're gonna get it to you in 20 minutes after you click.
You get your shit the next day. And so if they start retaliating in a way that hurts business, that's it. Like in the early days of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg would say, we can't have a crash for as little as 10 minutes. It doesn't matter. This website crashes, our whole brand is down the toilet. And that's the way Amazon, once those wheels get turning, you can't stop them. You can't stop them.
And hopefully that's how it plays out. But really, we are re-articulating the Gilded Age. We're going through the Gilded Age all over again, with the rampant wealth inequality pressuring workers to finally fight back in their desperation, and create a union movement that challenges this power. Hopefully it ends the same way, with progressive policies becoming ascendant to the point that they're unchallengeable politically.
That's
Eisenhower today, we would consider him a flaming liberal.
Right. I mean, that's of course the overall goal. In the meantime, if it can't be encoded in policy, you're just gonna have to squeeze it out of these fuckers.
Well, that's what they did before. Yeah. And
I know, but I'm talking about. Well, that's what I mean.
It went into the political realm. But that was
that's
decades.
What I mean.
That was decades of them fighting and striking and labor organizing before. Really, he was a Republican, but really, you could argue Theodore Roosevelt was the culmination of those efforts.